What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I want to go over what President Biden's stimulus plan is going to look like, what the government funding bill is currently transforming into, and we're also going to go over the Russia-Ukraine news as well. We also have some reports coming out of the House Democratic Caucus as well, so I'll read you a little bit of a statement that they put together today also. So if you have any questions on what's going on right now, you can always ask your questions down in the comment section below. But here's what I can tell you. Today we have the State of the Union address. So lawmakers are obviously busy with that. But we did get some new reports that came out today regarding the government funding bill. So I want to discuss what's there. Because currently senators are working on the government funding bill. There's been multiple sticking points along the way, and recently the ask is pretty much, let's provide $6 billion. And this is what's kind of the sticking point. Let's provide $6 billion for Ukraine for aid for what's going on over there. That's been discussed, and many people are in support of this. There's actually bipartisan support to provide $6 billion to Ukraine. Now, here's the issue. Some lawmakers say they want to add more than $6 billion to the overall price tag. Some are actually saying that it should be right about $10 billion. Others, and the reason for this is because the United States really wants to make an impact and let Russian President Vladimir Putin know that we are not backing down. If we're not going to be in the fight, we will support the people that are. And so we'll see what happens with that. Some say that they want to eliminate or reduce some provisions in order to pay for this $6 to $10 billion. Some are saying that they want to reduce the defense budget by $6 to $10 billion and put the aid in there. And Republicans say no, absolutely no way. And right now, nobody is in agreement as to how to fund this. Because again, it has to be included, or the way it's currently being worked is it's going to go into the government funding bill, which has to pass in the next 10 days. So what we do know as of right now is no additional funding for businesses is likely to be included into the government funding bill. That was a big ask, and there's just nothing there. We know there's a push for more vaccine funding, but it's not clear if this is going to go through. And again, this has to pass in 10 days. The reason that we don't know if additional funding is going to be included, Republicans say that yes, additional funding should be included in the event that we have an additional outbreak. We have more of another pandemic that comes on the heels of this. That's what the additional funding's for, not to impose more restrictions or anything for our current pandemic. And so that's where the discussion and the sticking points are currently at. Now, lawmakers are saying that they need to work on this and get a deal done as soon as possible. Again, 10 days away. That is it. On March 11th is when the government funding bill would expire at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, today, the State of the Union address is the big thing. And even though lawmakers have been kind of working through things over the past couple of days, the State of the Union address is the big thing for today. Now, President Biden, according to reports, he plans on laying out his new plan. And this plan, according to these reports, is to move completely away from the Build Back Better agenda and go more towards a deficit reduction, or what some are calling a unity agenda. Now, in this unity agenda, he will discuss his 4 pillars. These will include things like democracy on the world stage, economic vision, because he wants to lower costs for working families, addressing COVID, and going more towards a new moment of containment. Also, future of America and the need for unity. That's what's currently being discussed according to the White House. Now, President Biden will also call on Congress to do a handful of things. And according to the leaks and the releases that we've seen, one of the things that he wants to do is he wants Congress to raise Pell Grants by $2,000. He wants to increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour on a federal level. He wants to create a national paid family and medical leave program, which we've talked about in the past. He wants to provide clean energy tax credits, which many people are for. There's bipartisan support for that. He wants to reduce child care costs, reduce prescription drug costs for families, both for drug costs and healthcare premiums. He also ultimately wants to reduce costs for families, both immediately and in the future. And all of this stuff, again, you probably know this, but all this stuff was previously in the Build Back Better Act. But again, the Build Back Better Act is a thing of the past, and they're going to move these different provisions over to the new bill, whatever the new name may be. And that's the problem, is Republicans and moderates know these didn't work in the previous bill. Why are we just going to bring these over to the next one? Going to have the same results. Okay? Here's what I can tell you. And actually, let's look at this. Okay? Because House caucus leaders, they're asking for certain things. And I want to give you the release that they put out today. Look at this. Okay? Now, I'm not going to read who it was. You can see who it is, right? Pramila Jayapal, Judy Chu, right? Joyce Beatty, Louis Frankel, right? You can go through this whole list if you want to. But I want to read this down here. Because here's what it says. As chairs of the leading House Democratic caucuses, we are calling for congressional action on a final negotiated reconciliation bill that secures the support of 50 U.S. senators and 218 U.S. representatives. We must move to reach a final agreement and focus on policies that will deliver immediate and lasting results for Americans. Key words, immediate and lasting results. They go on to say, Democrats in Congress and the White House pulled the economy back from the brink by enacting the American Rescue Plan and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which this one, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, a lot of the money is still not even coming out. But real economic challenges remain for families. Congress must act quickly to address the challenges, especially as we continue to face systemic racism, disparities, and inequities, as well as rising price squeezes, working people, and the climate crisis that is escalating every day. Then it goes on to say, it's not too late to meet this moment. There is broad consensus on the most critical solutions Americans need to lower costs for families, tackle the climate crisis, and create opportunities and good-paying jobs. It is time to act. We stand united and ready to work with President Biden and all of our colleagues in the House and Senate to ensure a strong, final version of this bill becomes law as soon as possible. Now that's what they say, okay? Here's the reason why I wanted to read that to you. Keywords, it's time to act. Next one, immediate and lasting results for Americans. And they talk multiple times about lowering costs. That is key because that's exactly what President Biden is planning to talk about during his State of the Union address. Now, here's what we can expect moving forward, because right now a lot of the same promises from lawmakers are going to still be there. It's going to be the same thing. The only real difference is that many are expecting that the Build Back Better Act is going to be smaller, it's going to be more targeted, and it's going to be fully funded. Now, if we see things for Social Security or the child tax credit payments or stimulus or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's not fully funded, it will not be included. If it increases the national deficit at all, it will not be included. Those are hard asks. And that's exactly what Senator Joe Manchin has stated. If either one of those things happens, he would not support the bill. And what this group of House caucus leaders are asking for is for the reconciliation bill that secures the support of 50 U.S. senators and 218 U.S. representatives. To get the support of 50 U.S. senators and pass a bill, it has to be done through a budget reconciliation. So that's the issue. Now, one thing that was done today that will help lower costs, and most likely President Biden will bring this up today during his State of the Union address, is that the U.S. and other world powers have actually tapped the strategic oil reserves to try to lower the price of gas. Now, the International Energy Agency plans to release 60 million barrels of oil from their reserve. Now, what you need to keep in mind is 30 million is coming from the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now, according to White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, she says, and I quote, "The United States is prepared to use every tool available to us to limit disruption to global energy supply. As a result of President Putin's actions, we will also continue our efforts to accelerate diversification of energy supplies away from Russia and to secure the world from Moscow's weaponization of oil and gas. So, the United States is going to do what they can. Is it going to be enough to see the prices drop at the pumps? Maybe for a little bit, but the expectation is it's only going to be for a little bit. So, don't go out there and buy yourself a gas guzzling car, because it's not going to be great. But let's get into the news regarding Russia and Ukraine for a moment. Ukrainian National Security and Defense Council chief stated that the Ukrainian forces actually foiled an assassination attempt earlier. It was a plot against President Zelensky. And President Zelensky stated last week that the Russian sabotage groups were hunting him and his family. Well, the reports came out today that indicated this entire threat is true, and that threat has been neutralized or eliminated. So, you can guess what happened. We also saw today that Russian forces have actually stepped up their attacks on certain cities, mainly the two biggest cities in Ukraine, and they're attacking the civilian areas. Just today, we saw that 2 TV towers in the 2 largest cities in Ukraine were actually targeted. Now, what they're saying is that this was simply an attempt to block people from seeing what is actually happening by watching TV, and it also invokes fear because nobody knows. And high levels of uncertainty creates anxiety, stress, and fear. Now, the last report that we got stated that Russia's 40-mile convoy, this seems to be broken down about 15 miles from Kyiv. Now, as of right now, things are somewhat stable, but this is until the convoy starts to move again. So, as soon as we know more as to what's going on there, and as the convoy gets closer, I will break down everything that we're hearing. But right now, that's what we know. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.